Previously on A Whole New Pod. Oh man, it's the big game! By God, it's Judah Maccabee!
The Judah.
Oh shit! I watched the Scooby-Doo movie!
Oh.
Tune in now to find out the exciting conclusion to this. Hey guys, it's Lucas Melby with A Whole New Pod here. Always watching Disney Channel original movies.
And apparently Scooby-Doo movies now.
Who's that Scooby-Doo?
Oh, it's Jacob Telejohn. Oh.
All right, we got to get right into this. We left you with the biggest cliffhanger we've ever had on an episode because we never have cliffhangers on episodes.
Yeah.
And before we start talking about the wild movie we watched today, let me just give a quick lowdown for everybody, I'm sure, waiting to hear my take on the original live-action Scooby-Doo movie, which almost could be a DCOM. Some of it looks like it has the same effects as some DCOMs we've watched.
Ooh.
Sorry to disappoint, but it's not good. It's not a good movie.
Yeah, that's blasphemy where I come from.
Ironically, so on my Letterboxd account, it was one of the few movies I had actually rated just a half star. I've also rated like Ready to Run just a half star.
That hurts.
But I think so. I watched it as a kid. And I think I had a worse memory of it as a kid than I did as an adult. Or as an adult, you
appreciate it now.
I was able to appreciate things like the production design, where I'm like, oh, those are some cool props, or this is a fun set. But that was about the extent of what I could appreciate.
He hated the zombies. He thought they all looked the same.
Well, they weren't even zombies.
No,
they were
I can't
just
remember
monsters.
Yeah.
The CG looked absolute like dog shit. They didn't do any like unique design, so all the monsters looked the same.
No.
Some props, yes. The set design good. Matthew Lillard as Shaggy, great.
Like Zoinks, hey Scoob.
We kind of thought that Hot Velma was in this movie. She's not. She's in the sequel, and I'm not gonna watch that.
Is it the same actress? Is it?
Yeah,
it's all the same people.
She plays the older sister in Freaks and Geeks.
Oh,
but I don't think she's actually that good of a Velma. It was a weird disconnect where I don't know. Maybe it's just Matthew Lillard. It's like he's doing the voice of Scoob, of Shaggy. Scoob. So it definitely feels put on for him. But he's like so perfect for it. Whereas I think her name's Lisa Carbonelli or something like that. It just felt like she's doing a Velma impression, and I didn't really feel that she fit the part. I mean, they can put her in the wig, the glasses, the costume, but I just didn't feel like she was Velma.
You weren't feeling it.
Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne was fine. I think Freddie Prinze Jr. is a good fit for Freddie.
What about Scooby? Do you think that they cast the right Scooby?
I'm pretty sure it's the guy who's always done Scooby.
Oh, really?
I think he's like the consistent guy.
What is Matthew Lillard? Oh, he does.
He was in the original Scream.
Scream, yeah.
That was his biggest movie, probably, besides these.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't good. There was a moment where some of the comedy was working for me for a bit, and then I said, well, maybe this movie isn't so bad. And then literally the next scene was when Shaggy and Scooby fart and burp battle each other. And I also distinctly remembered this as a kid, and I've never been a fan of fart jokes and that kind of stuff, and I hated that as a kid. So it just was never going to work on me, and I was already the target demographic back when I was younger.
I love the eating scene. I don't know. I love like the spookiness of it. I don't know.
I think that does come from the set designs, which create a definite atmosphere.
Like that one, like the headhunter guy or whatever you want to call him, or like the voodoo doctor guy.
Well, the voodoo doctor, I actually recognize him. And I'm like, what is he from? And he is from Return of the Living Dead, and then also Friday the 13th Part 5, where he dies, his character, who his name escapes me right now, but he eats some bad enchiladas and has to go take a shit. So he leaves his trailer, and his girlfriend comes with him to the shitter, and she's outside, and they sing a song back and forth with each other, and it's supposed to be a cute couple moment as he's having diarrhea poops. And then his girlfriend gets killed, and then Jason kills him inside like the porta potty.
Oh.
That was pretty cool.
Wow.
I'm like, I know that guy. Good for him. He was in another movie.
I might have to rewatch the movie to kind of to see if I still like it. I think I'll like it. There might be some things I'm like, this
you
is
like
just
plenty
silly,
of DCOM, so this would be right in your wheelhouse. Also, Scrappy Doo, terrible.
Stop.
It worked. It could have worked. Obviously, I think it's great on a meta level that they made Scrappy Doo the villain. His CG when he turns into a big monster, absolutely terrible. But just the way they introduce him and bring back, because it's like in this universe, Scrappy Doo exists, and they bring him back in the most shoehorned way where they're like, we don't want Scrappy Doo to just appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So then they set him up in such an awkward way that I guess probably works on kids. But then it's like, why are they doing this? Oh, and he's peeing on Sarah Michelle Gellar. Haha.
Puppy power.
All right. So that's enough. We've already spent like 5 minutes talking about
So
this.
My 15 and Lucas's 0.5 out of 10 kind of bring that to about a 7.5 rating. So it's about, it's a good deal.
Update the fan wiki on that. So we're going to get into probably even a wilder movie, I would say.
And I don't think through the first hour of the movie or 40 minutes of the movie we thought it was going to be as wild as it got.
No, this movie goes off the rails, and then the train keeps flying into the stratosphere and just never stops.
Oh boy.
So we'll just get into it. It is pixel perfect, the first DCOM of 2004. A year that we can look forward to.
The year of our DCOM, 2004.
Prequels of the Z3, the Xenon, the ender of the trilogy. So far, there has not been a further
And you said
Xenon
it's
movie.
a different protozoa now?
For all that is meaningful to people. And then Halloween Town High, the third of the 4 Halloween Town movies.
I wonder if that is all the same people.
It does. Halloween Town 4 then recast Marnie.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, but not as weird as Pixel Perfect, a movie that starts out in a way that I'm like, this is fun enough, and then bites off mouthfuls more than it can chew.
Yeah.
So let's just get into it. We get a lowdown about the technological capabilities of our main character, Roscoe. Pretty quick.
Is played by, if you guys really got into DCOMs back in the early 2000s, you might remember a show called Phil of the Future. And at first, I didn't recognize that it was him. And then, like, after a few minutes, I'm like, I think that's Phil of the Future. And it is.
Yep.
So that's kind of, this came before that show, you're thinking?
Probably. Phil became Phil of the Future in the future.
Yeah.
But he is a computer whiz. We know that because he's wearing glasses and he is also at a computer where on the screen we're seeing some kind of dot matrix 3D space where he is creating a cat. And he is on a video chat with his friend Samantha, who mostly goes by Sam. So quickly we're seeing computers are advanced in this compared to some other DCOMs.
Yes.
I can't remember the other one we watched recently that had a video chat mechanism in it, but it's present here as well. And he is able to pull this cat out of cyberspace and create a hologram.
And it looks real.
Well, it is. It's just a cat.
Well, I mean, but it looks real.
I'm just saying, the effects in this movie, to a point, are pretty good, but it's not like they're not messing around. The cat on the computer does not look like the cat that actually comes out in real life, besides the color scheme. Yeah.
Speaking of color schemes, we'll get to that in a minute.
He shows off to Samantha that he can change the colors of the cat, so we're getting like tiger stripe, polka dot
purple, some weird plaid.
Uh-oh, my dad's coming.
Yeah.
So Roscoe is on his dad's computer. His dad
Skyping or Zoom calling Samantha.
Yeah, I think it just says video chat for like the window.
And I might call him Phil. Roscoe is Phil to me, so if I call him Phil...
Roscoe is a very weird name for anybody, let alone Disney Channel.
It's like a dog's
character.
name.
Yeah, that is true. It's weird for humans to have the name Roscoe.
Come here, Roscoe.
So he's in his dad's home office with all this technology. His dad works for a company called Skygraph.
Not to be confused with Sky Mall, if you've ever taken an airplane.
I think they're probably more going for Skynet, the company from Terminator.
Yep.
And then he has to close down. He doesn't want his dad to learn that he's messing around with holograms. His dad's on some big hologram project, but his funding's maybe being cut.
Yeah.
It's not really important, but it does come into play a little bit more.
But Maybe. Not really, though. Like, it's never like he's going to lose his job over it. So there's no, like, stress behind that, which I feel like we've had other shows where that, or movies where that's happened, where parents have been under
what we were
stress
predicting would be the kind of big third act part. We also could not have predicted where this movie was going to go whatsoever. We do see in the chaos of him trying to log out of the computer or whatnot, the cat jumps out and runs out of the window.
Yeah, it jumps out of the window and it
vaporizes.
Like all the pixels just fall apart.
So remember that.
Yes. Big important.
So Roscoe goes to a show/tryout for Sam's band, which is a 3-member band of girls called the Zetabytes or Zetabytes.
Yeah.
They're at a club for children called Ear Splitter. And the manager there is some really crusty-looking British guy named Mr. Moxley.
Moxley, that's what it was.
And they're performing, and Samantha is the singer and lead guitarist. And Mr. Moxley cuts them off and is like, oh, fuck now, this is right bollocks here, you fucking shite.
Wasn't a fan of her, was it just her singing or her...
It was more, I think, her stage presence, because
she wasn't like moving and dancing and stuff.
They're great. He says, hey, it's not just about sound anymore, it's more about image.
Motion. More motion in the ocean.
So then he calls up the Moist Towelettes.
Moist Towelettes, yes.
It's not clear if they're actually the next band that goes up because it's a 3-part girl group, more like the Cheetah Girls. And if they're called the Moist Towelettes, it's a fun name. I don't really understand how that's a very marketable name for anything that's not maybe a weird punk band or something. But this is weird because, and we get more of it later on too, where, like the Cheetah Girls, they're setting up the music industry as kind of sinister in how they commoditize groups, and specifically children or teens in these groups, and morph them and mold them into the image they want. Yeah. And it's like, sorry, Mr. Mouse, is that not what you do with all of your children in their groups that then eventually age out and become fucked up adults because of maybe something traumatic that happened in their childhood?
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there. They go back to Sam's house, where she goes and is pissed in her bedroom that is decked out in Avril Lavigne posters.
She loves Avril Lavigne.
Good decorations for a room to be emo in. Roscoe is trying to console her and gives her the suggestion, like, hey, maybe you just need to take a step back. Your lyrics are really good. You can still write the songs, but maybe you just need a different front person to really spice things up for the group.
Yeah.
And then Roscoe is back in his dad's computer lab. He makes the cat again. And then he starts talking in an Australian accent, kind of.
Yeah.
I thought this was... So Roscoe kind of has a light bulb go above his head, brainstorm moment. Yeah. For whatever reason, I thought the creation, spoiler, he makes a hologram girl that he was going to make, was going to have an Australian accent for some reason.
Yes.
That doesn't happen. But
unfortunately not.
Roscoe has some kind of computer montage where he is pulling a whole bunch of different CDs, opening the jewel cases. We see on the computer screen, it seems to be assessing, scanning their waveforms. Then he's flipping through some magazines. And this is obviously very weird science, combining the different wonderful parts of a girl and a singer to make
like
the perfect
it's all
team.
It's all certain percentages, like 70% of this hair.
Well, we see his notes
later
about
on.
That later.
Later on, I don't know if we'll mention it or not, but it's all written down, very precise.
Yeah, pure precise science.
Yes.
Though actually, I feel like, well, we don't see all of the numbers, so maybe they still add it to 100%. But I feel like the math might be questionable there. Everybody's got like giant houses in this movie, and Sam has both a bedroom but also a giant loft above the garage where the band hangs out, and it's very spacious in a way and kind of eclectically decorated. Roscoe lays in a bathtub, so it's kind of goofy, like the, I don't know, Drake and Josh's bedroom or iCarly's, wherever iCarly is, her apartment in quotation marks that is very big and has an entire studio in it.
Yeah.
Those are Nickelodeon. Sorry, we shouldn't talk about those.
This is blasphemic.
So they're having tryouts for their fourth members, and it's so funny.
Awful voices. This one girl is like,
the first girl's giving kind of like
a punk. Was it a punk or just a screamo
like a
or
beat
like just
poet reading about how she hates school?
Yeah,
which I kind of dug, but they didn't. Then there's basically
not
more
tap
like
dance,
Celtic or Irish,
Irish
tap dancing, step dancing kind of thing. So she wasn't singing at all, so that wasn't going to work out. And then just some girl who was very earnest and nice, but she just couldn't sing well.
Because the band had played at her Sweet 16 or something, or her sister's Sweet 16 or something.
And she was a huge fan of the Zeta Bites.
Loved them.
Then Roscoe has a very small laptop that he's typing up some shit on, and it's not really a spoiler or not clear to us, but then another girl walks up into the loft. Oh, your name's not on the list. And she's like, hey, you know this song? Which ends up being one of the Zeta Bites songs.
So this is the first time we ever see her.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of have a hint. We know that it's coming because we see Roscoe on his computer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Person.
Roscoe's weird.
Yeah.
So this girl, I'm just saying this because this is what the movie wants us to feel, but she is blonde. We're supposed to think she's really hot.
Yeah.
And then during her tryout, which is she's singing a song of the Zeta Bites because they know all of the music to it and they play it at different shows. Yes. She knows all the words. She's singing it, and then she's doing very promiscuous dance moves.
Very,
like
dance
lots
moves.
of splits or just standing and lifting one leg up. And maybe that's my creepy adult mind filtering through this. But I'm like, why are you making her do this, Disney Channel?
We've seen enough DCOMs to know that this is a norm.
The Cheetah Girls weren't doing anything.
I mean, just like weird stuff, though. You know,
I'd say this is the
joke
most
about it.
Like, yeah, you and Sam maybe sometimes force some shit, but like this one is like,
cuties. This is some cuties.
Yeah, maybe
Cutie
not
stuff
quite
here.
there, but it's like this is a bit much, and I would hope that maybe like in other DCOMs where the actress is older than the part she's playing, or as Jacob says, hey, she's a hologram, so it's totally fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
So yeah, she just really kills the audition, and they're all asking, hey, what's your name? I'm Loretta Modern. And then they go to shake her hand.
I wonder where we got the
Fortunately, they don't need
name
to
from.
hide this for very long, that she's a hologram.
Well, she didn't mean to shake her hand. The one girl tripped over cords. She tripped over Roscoe's computer cords and fell into her.
Oh, I thought she was just trying to shake her hand. But yeah, she goes through her, and they're like, fuck, she's a hologram.
Yeah.
That's fortunate. That could have been an easy trope where, I gotta hide that she's a hologram for 18 minutes.
Yeah,
we still get a little more of that.
So they don't they don't hate her at this point.
No.
Oh, I guess.
Well, Sam isn't on board,
No.
but Roscoe, I don't know, convinces her somehow.
So I don't. Do the other band members throughout the movie ever really hate her? I don't think they do.
They do once she becomes the big star.
I guess I just always got the vibes that it was Sam that was the jealous one.
Well, for sure. And it's a little understandable because
she's replaced.
It is her music that is
she's
being
not
sung.
singing it. Yeah. No,
and
exactly.
some people have a harder time separating themselves from that.
Yeah.
I think they're back at Roscoe's house, and here's all the fucking stuff about holograms. And then he says, holograms can't go outside. Avi. Everybody knows that. And then in our reality, the only holograms that basically have existed have been outside, like Tupac. And Kim Kardashian's dead father, Rob Kardashian, that Kanye summoned from the depths of hell or whatever. He defended OJ. I can say he came from hell.
Wow.
But then he also says, hey, my dad can't find out. So, okay. But his dad's really bad at finding stuff out because
his dad is he plays.
Roscoe's always on his computer.
Yeah, no, like the dad's never in his office.
Yeah,
it's really weird. Like the dad plays a very.
No wonder his project's losing money. He's never working on it.
Yeah, the dad plays a very minor role through about 90% of the film, and then at the end he just becomes super dad.
Then he's business daddy.
Yeah, he's business papa.
There you go. So Max somehow books the Zetabytes for the school dance, which, what? I thought the infectious measles were going to play. Which, great names, infectious measles and moist towelettes. I don't know if it's really ever... Maybe I just didn't pay attention to why the infectious measles couldn't play. Like, did Roscoe kill them?
they were infected with measles.
So the crowd is super hyped for the infectious measles and then immediately disappointed that the Zetabytes are going to play.
Yes.
But Loretta comes out. She's singing, doing her sexy dance move.
What's wrong with me?
They start to turn around, and the end of the song, Loretta jumps up and does at least 3 flips midair.
She does a lot of flip skis in this movie. She's always flipping and turning.
So the crowd loves this. Sam, we see in the background looking all
gloomy.
sad.
Yeah. Who especially loves this is creepy.
I don't think he's at the school dance.
Okay,
that'd be a bit much. Mr. Moxley.
I guess
we'll go into it. I think probably shortly after this. But Mr. Moxley, definite creepo pervisoid.
Yes, he isn't at the.
But it'd be a bit much if he stuck to a school dance.
No, he's not there.
Then there's this really weird scene where Roscoe is taking pictures of Loretta and having her make different expressions. She first makes one like Macaulay Culkin and Home Alone.
Like scared, yeah.
The slap my face one. And then he has her smile and he's
like really into it.
Oh.
So
then
like, they were talking about emotion before that.
So it's not really clear why they were doing this, because I thought it's like, oh, maybe he's going to program in like emotions for her.
We were hearing a lot of hi, Roscoe.
Yeah, she's very monotone up to this
point. And then
point.
it's starting to get better, I think. I think this is when it starts to get better.
He's always out messing around on the computer, improving her.
Yeah.
But these photos all come out and she's all staticky and weird in them. So you can't take pictures of vampires and holograms. Everybody knows this.
He explains it, just like how he explains that she can't leave.
He explains it, but there's a lot of hand waving. Oh, yeah. So really, it's not explained why she can't go outside.
He just says holograms can only be inside.
And also, if it wasn't clear enough earlier, she can exist inside so long as there's a computer, even one as dinky as his little laptop. So that's how it works at the school dance.
Always has to be the computer.
So it's both the computer and then there's some kind of battery cell cylinder
that she's stored into.
Yeah, it's very hand-wavy technology.
2004, we would have been like, wow, I want one of those cylinders.
Pixel Perfect is not a hard sci-fi movie. It doesn't need to be 2001: A Space Odyssey. But when you create rules like holograms can't go outside.
15 years ago, we had no idea. We didn't know Tupac was going to exist outside.
It's never really set up. No. It's not like, the sun disperses the particles or whatever. Again, whatever. Moving on.
Well, what that led into, though, was her whole point of she later gets upset about not being able to go outside, obviously.
Yeah, so actually right after these pictures are taken is where we get the first tastes of this movie delving into, as happens in a lot of sci-fi movies, especially with holograms, AI, computers, or robots, existential philosophy, where Loretta's like, why am I here? Because the Zetabytes needed a front person.
Why are you here? She asks him. Yeah, but like that, I think that's the whole point. They're putting these limits and parameters on her. So, because that's like the whole point of the movie, that she can't go outside of areas, and like they're limiting her.
Yes, it makes sense for plot progression. It just doesn't make sense within world building.
Correct. Yep.
Speaking of world building, Roscoe has other friends. So at school,
play Minecraft with him.
We meet Max, who will appear in about only 2 scenes in this movie. After this first scene, I was already asking Jacob, hey, over under on if we'll ever see Max again.
And it was in the next scene.
Yeah, or at least pretty close. So
but
Max,
his purpose, which doesn't really serve a big purpose.
Well, this is where I'm like, they're bringing it up again because Max's mom works at Skygraph, and she is
higher up.
Roscoe's dad's boss, and Max somehow knows that his project's in jeopardy, and then also thinks he has enough pull to not have his dad's project shut down.
Apparently.
Parents, I guess Roscoe's dad does go to his son for business advice, but most people probably don't.
No.
But he wants to go on a date, Max that is, with Loretta.
Yes.
And Max, or Roscoe, I can't let my dad get shut down because then he would lose Loretta for sure. Then
Correct.
goes and asks Sam, hey, you want to go on a date? And she, I think it's maybe hinted at a little bit at this point, but this is really there where Sam likes Roscoe and she's, oh, yeah, I'd love to go on a date. Cool, it'll be a double date with Loretta and Max too. What? Yeah,
Double
because
dates.
Max has to go there because he has to have his computer and
Yes.
he can't just go by himself. So
See,
he has
and
to have a covered
like,
date.
there were several moments before this in the movie where I thought maybe they were kind of dating. Like, I don't know. There seemed like there was
No,
something
it's just
there.
the classic anime trope of the childhood friend where
Yeah.
it makes so much sense for them to be together,
Well,
but they do in the end.
he never, I guess, looked at her that way ever. Right, though? He never looked at her like in that kind of light before, and she was always like that.
He only looks at her
later on, I don't know
when
if
the
we'll-
movie decides he should look
Yes.
at her like that.
And I don't know if we'll probably bring it up, but there's a point where she's like, I've always been right in front of you, right here, I'm real.
So she's obviously unhappy because Roscoe's only pretending to be interested to go on a date with
To date
her
with her.
so he can cover for Loretta.
Yeah, and
What I think would have worked better if Sam is like, no, I'm not going to go.
yeah.
So that works both for a character level, but then for a comedic level, it would have created a situation
Him
where...
hiding in like a booth.
Yeah,
that
he
would
could
have
have
been
hid in a
great.
booth and it'd be the classic trying to feed
But then-
information into an earpiece or whatever for a
then
character.
you wouldn't have been able to do all of the like the weird lip stuff and eye stuff.
They could have maybe still worked it in.
Possibly.
But yes, we get this very weird, awkward date where Max is asking Loretta a bunch of questions.
And he's always on his computer. And the other kid asks, why are you always on your computer? You know, I'm just checking the hockey scores. Because Loretta mentions some
Yeah, she is getting
NHL
very
score.
Wikipedia-type factual information fed into her.
Yes, anything that's on his computer screen is what she knows.
I mean, samey.
Yeah.
And then Max keeps trying to touch her hand, and she pulls away
Pulls
because
back. Like
she's
this
a
happens
she's
like
a hologram.
five times
Yeah,
at least.
a little forward for high school, being like, give me your hand.
touch, and because he makes comments. He's like, "Wow, your nails, your fingers."
He says, you have the softest
That's what it
hands I've
is.
ever seen, which
Uh-huh.
I'm not looking at hands all the time, and I guess if I'm looking at like an old person or a frickin' forge worker who's got lots of calluses, I could tell their hands aren't soft, but usually you can't just tell somebody's got soft hands by looking at them. But who am I to say?
I guess.
Roscoe gets a call from his dad, who is like, "Hey, you doing hologram shit?" And then as
we don't
he leaves,
we never hear the dad. We just hear the conversation on his end, don't we?
I just probably didn't pay attention
No.
to what his dad was saying. But as he gets up,
He knocks out the cylinder.
the battery cell
That
thing
usually-
from his backpack.
See, and I don't understand the connection between that and the computer,
And-
but apparently you need them close together.
That or maybe it was hooked up to a power source or something, but it starts to cause Loretta to go a little haywire.
Yes, we see on the computer screen. So he goes to answer the call. He turns the computer. So what's her name? Sam can see
Sam.
the readers of the.
Yeah, as if she knows what the fuck it is.
Like there's one that says like error, and then that's a bar that keeps going up and up
it's
and
just
up
different
and up
bar
and up.
graphs. Be like, beep, meters.
Error.
This all makes sense, right?
And I can't remember what first happened to her.
She first looks like Sly Snoodle from the original trilogy special edition.
Her feet. It was her feet first.
Oh yeah, she starts to kind of just like
and then she
turn
starts
all,
acting. She says weird
Yeah.
stuff like "kiss me," and then he
she
goes
starts
to
to
kiss.
act all giddy and like, Max, I just hold me and I'll melt into you. And Max
Yes.
is like, yes, please.
And she says "kiss me," and then he goes from the kiss, and then
Her
Sam,
mouth extends kind of like a
Sam shoves a menu. Like, look at these desserts.
yeah, and then eventually throws
And then
her keys
all the
away.
weird shit happens, and then it just gets weird. This is where the first part of the movie we're like, why is
This
this?
was still within the realm of what I could maybe have expected about this movie.
That's fair.
But yeah, her lips stretch out like she's a cartoon character.
There's
going
like
in
3
for a
lips coming
smooch.
out of her. She has hands
Yeah,
coming out of her, or
she has
ears
an
coming
ear
out of her
coming out of her
hands.
hand. She
And then
gets
there's a
3
guy.
sets of
There's a
lips.
guy eating a meal that sees us, and he starts choking on his food and spitting it up.
Well, and I don't even really know if he ever fully recovers.
No.
That guy, for all we know,
He's
might have
dead.
died.
He might have died. He was struggling.
So yeah, it's all kind of goofy, but eventually Max just leaves. And that might be the last we see of him.
Yeah, I think it is.
They
find the canister.
Back,
yes, he sees they're having issues.
It.
They find the canister or whatever. Yeah, they fix it. It's all good. He leaves. We don't know when he leaves, and they're done.
That choking guy dies. Max also dies.
And she also at one point teleports, and then she's sitting with old people. And then Max is like, "Why is she over there? What the hell happened?"
So Roscoe asks Sam to take Loretta with her to her house because he doesn't want his dad to discover her.
Yes.
So then they're kind of hanging out, and
can't remember her mood after this date. Was she pissed at him?
So Sam's not happy with her, and it seemed like she wasn't even going to let her out of the cell. But then she
says something. She puts like a hat over her, and she's like, "You can be locked up here forever."
And then she's helping her with her homework, and Loretta knows all the answers, and it gets to get into kind of human nature.
I don't want the answer. I want to get it wrong and learn by myself.
Why don't you just want to be perfect like me? And then Sam goes in and says, "You're perfect, but you haven't learned the stuff to get to where you are. You have no experience.
You were never a baby.
You don't get to learn from failure. Yeah, you weren't ever born." And then Loretta slaps back with, "Hey, you're just chemicals and water and maybe a little too many pounds of chemicals."
Yeah, that was like that fat shaming caught me off guard.
And at this point, Roscoe has shown up and walked in on them fighting, and then he's like, ladies, I'm just one guy." I think kind of suggests that Sam plays a song to kind of ease tensions. So she's playing a song on the acoustic guitar, and it's only thinly veiled that the lyrics are about Roscoe, and it's like,
I was digging this.
I could change how I would look, and would you even notice me?
I like this song.
The music's fine in this movie.
Like the soundtrack was really good.
Her playing the song eventually transitions into the whole band playing it with Loretta singing.
Yes.
In front of Mr. Moxley in some kind of tryout. And Mr. Moxley is definitely getting...
He has his hand in his pants.
He's in sicko mode right now.
He's trying to zip up his pants or something. The zipper's stuck.
My note says, Mr. Moxley, definite pervert.
It's like, oh, wow. So yes, more.
He loves them, and he gives them a spot on amateur night.
Well, I think what sold it was her quadruple front flip.
Yep, that is true. But amateur night, that's not that big. But then there's some record producer that's going to come. So again, it's just like Cheetah Girls. I don't remember his name. I don't even remember the name of the record producer in Cheetah Girls.
No.
Jackal Johnson. Chaz Anthony is the record producer in this. And they're like, oh, why would he be going to this kid club on amateur night to scout talent? I don't know. He's probably a pervisoid too. At Roscoe's house. Oh, yes. Sam goes in when Roscoe's not home. Oh, he'll be home shortly. And this is where she discovers Post-it notes with all the
percentages of all the hair.
Loretta's voice, the music.
And some of the pictures are of her.
Yeah, that's
weird. And the pictures that are of her originally had larger percentages, but they were scratched out to like 3%.
Yeah, there was 4%. One that was reduced from 10% to 4%, and then one was just like, don't use this one.
Yeah, they're all different, her lips, her eyes, her hair. It was really weird.
So she storms out photos? Right as Roscoe gets home, and he's like, hey, what's up, babe? What's the problem?
Yeah.
So then it's amateur night at the club. We see backstage. They're excited because they see the producer walk in, and he...
T-Dibbles.
Brings along the media, which is one TV van. But Mr. Moxley is excited about that. There's some very funny signs backstage that just say no drugs.
Oh, so really?
Disney is very clear that this is a cool, okay 18 under bar where nothing sketchy's happening.
I miss that.
Though I definitely would believe Mr. Moxley would turn the other eye.
Yes.
And maybe just serve the kids alcohol.
Yes. 100%.
Then they go out and they sing the new song that Sam had written.
You don't see me.
Yep. Oh, and while this is happening, I noticed that Loretta has no visible microphone. She doesn't have like a headset. She doesn't have a handheld mic.
Yeah, I did notice that too. So she's auto-tuned already. Like they're already auto-tuning her.
Then I don't even know if it was lightning.
It was something that with the van outside.
The TV van has a big satellite dish or whatever.
And it's interfering with her
something.
Reading with her
It's giving
connection.
some interference to her hologram, so she kind of
Roscoe is
flipping out, and the crowd finds out she's a hologram.
Yeah, they don't notice at first, so she's like doing really weird stuff, and it takes them like a minute to realize that she's like glitching out. It was weird.
But once they find out she's a hologram, nobody cares. We're like, that's sick as
We
fuck.
love that. Yeah, the first ever hologram musician. Yeah, like the whatever T-Dibbles and the pedophile dude. Well, whatever. They're both like,
She's like, oh fuck, it's okay. She's a hologram.
Yeah, like, at first they were worried. Like you could see worry on their face that she wasn't going to go over well. But yes, there's two people in the crowd that are like, yeah, that's awesome. We've never
There's
seen
two people that are having a conversation just between them, and then the
it's
whole
quiet.
crowd is on board
They're
with
all
what they're
listening.
agreeing on.
Yeah.
Obviously, Hatsune Miku is a real thing that people are into. People are really into VTubers now, so...
VTubers.
You don't know about VTubers?
No, I'm out of the loop.
Like Let's Players. Mostly, yeah, I think they play video games, and instead of
But
being...
they're fake?
They're like cute anime girls.
What?
People love them.
You
I
love
haven't
them.
really watched
Oh,
any of them. I
That's
just know
weird.
of them from
I didn't know that
people
was-
talking about them.
That's interesting, though.
Yeah. So it all came from Pixel Perfect.
Pixel Perfect started it all.
But the record producer, he's on the phone. He's like, I've got the fucking future
Yeah.
on stage.
Yeah.
They start doing media interviews because they get signed on with this record
Oh yeah,
label.
they're shopping and they're picking out like thousands of dollars in clothes. I don't know who's paying for it. The record company all of a sudden, or
They're blowing up. There's merch. People are buying Loretta t-shirts.
Yeah.
They're doing TV
live
interviews.
show. They're doing a lot of
Our
live
guy's
shows.
Like, this is a slippery slope. What's going to happen next? Hologram dogs? You going to marry a hologram?
Well, yeah, and he's like, oh, yeah, he said hologram pets.
Puppy power.
Roscoe's like, yeah. Roscoe's like, I already have a cat.
Yeah, just get the fuck out of here,
Yeah.
Roscoe. Roscoe, which basically seems every other scene to wear glasses or not wear glasses.
Yeah,
so
there's
I didn't
no-
really understand that.
I wonder if we're supposed to like, if he's wearing glasses, he's supposed to be smart Roscoe, and he's talking about smart stuff.
So I think it's within this montage of their popularity blowing up where they're doing more shows, where
Yeah.
there starts to seem to be some tension with the rest of the band, where the spotlight is all on Loretta. They're billed as Loretta and the Zetabytes instead of just the Zetabytes. So Sam has already been not on board with Loretta, but then the other two band members definitely are kind of feeling on the outs as well.
Yes, agreed.
And then she's like, I want to go to the mall in Japan. And
Japan.
I could just upload myself to the computer. And Roscoe says, if you upload yourself, you'll be torn apart.
Yeah.
But Loretta says she's leaving. She wants to know what the rain feels like or some bullshit like that.
She wants to feel the rains down in Africa, I think is what she said.
And she says, it's not fair you made me like this.
No.
Not real.
Yeah,
I'm like, what? It's the only way he could have made you.
yeah, this is like where it gets like deep.
Well, this is where my next note says the movie turns insane
Yes.
because she uploads herself into cyberspace.
The what are they called? The cyber highway? No, the something.
Information superhighway.
Yeah, yeah.
Where we're seeing she's in a fully CG space, kind of looks like the planet from Stepsister from Planet Weird,
It's
where the
weird.
bubble people existed, but we're just seeing different images and bytes and bits, everything flying around. But then she almost gets run over by a big engine car thing with a greasy looking guy inside.
It's a search engine.
He's like, "Hey, get in!"
I thought it was like a dump truck.
But it's a search engine that has like sentience and has a personality. And I feel like this was a missed opportunity where they should have made the search engine guy like a butler, so it could be like an Ask Jeeves kind of joke.
That would have been kind of, yeah.
But instead, it's just weird.
It's very weird.
And this is really just the
It's like-
beginning.
It's out of context to just where the movie's been. Like,
yeah, no, it is so goofy. And at this point, I'm like, oh, I did not expect this movie to go in this direction. And it only goes in other directions I wish it didn't go into.
Like it is. It's like it's Mike Pillsbury kind of weird. It's just like
It's a direction that would be okay if it was more the focus of this movie, but they just keep piling on all these
Goofy.
different ideas.
Yeah.
When if they just stuck with weird science, but with the
Yes.
teen rock band,
Yep.
love triangle kind of thing, that would have been a perfectly fine, enjoyable
Yes.
movie. But then they just get into lots of dumb shit.
Yes.
So they
Agreed.
drive by some fucking whirlpool of information in the search
And he's like,
engine.
don't go into there.
That's the server. Whatever the fuck that means.
So she drops down into the server, and it's like a
an
bunch
email
of
server.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of like no-faced weird things collecting emails and sorting spam. She tries talking to one. They recognize her as a virus, and then these weird dogs start chasing her through the. It's very strange. What happens? I don't remember what happens after the dogs chase her. What is she? She jumps into one.
She goes through a door that puts her in some other part of cyberspace, and then a bunch of little pods drop down.
It's very
and it
weird.
opens up, and some lady who looks like she could fit within a David Lynch film where she's got red hair and she kind of talks with like a 50s accent. I'm like, hey, lady, you see here, we're not responsible if you get torn up with your email. But she fills out an email with her, Loretta, that is, and she sends herself to Sam.
Yeah.
I feel like they could.
And then Sam's sitting there at her computer, and it's like, help me, right? Isn't it? Doesn't she hear somebody?
She comes in the video chat window all staticky, and it's like, download me from your email. Which she does. She puts her in the cell, but then just leaves her in there.
Yeah, she's like, you can stay here forever because she's mad at him.
And it's like, they could have made this movie like 5 to 10 minutes shorter if they just had her. She goes into the computer, we see like a email window pop up, and she emails herself to Sam. We didn't need all this fucking Ralph breaks the internet bullshit, Tron land, whatever.
Yeah, it was
if it was
a
the
little
focus
much.
of the movie, fine, but this is just too much. Too much in this movie.
I agree.
So, yes, Roscoe comes over to Sam's house, tells her that
he's
Loretta's
like
missing.
freaking out. Like, yeah, because he can drive. So he's there.
He can drive. That's important. Not a lot of Disney Channel characters can drive.
Earlier in the movie, we're introduced to her mother. This is like when they went over there and they were
I think
doing
it might
the
have been
homework.
this moment. No, you're right. It was earlier.
Yeah, the mother was
The
for
mom can
homework.
play a guitar.
And the dad's
Very
like, what's
important.
happening? Why are you in such a rush? Like, what's going on? And he's like, where is Samantha? Where is she? And then
Where are the drugs coming from?
Yeah.
And then Sam says, you love Loretta, don't you?
She's out in the garden. She's playing it off like she has no idea where she is.
But also, I don't know if they had really hit home. We talked about how he didn't look at Sam in that way.
Yes.
But I don't know if they really hit home enough that he was looking at Loretta in that way either.
At this time, maybe.
But then it really comes out that he does love Loretta because he's like, hey, whatever, she's not real. What is real? And then Sam says, I'm real.
And then she kisses him on the mouth.
And he no-sells it. He doesn't care.
No, he doesn't. Well, she doesn't really give him a chance because she kisses him, gives him a little tongue, and then says, Loretta's in my room.
No tongue.
Loretta's in my room.
Well, she says that after a pause because he's just like, no thank you. And then she says, okay, Loretta's in my fucking space cell thing.
Yeah. That was weird.
Mm-hmm. So the drama continues when Roscoe goes home and asks his dad about why he didn't get married again. Because, like a Disney Channel character, he doesn't have a mom.
Like before they were saying that, it made it sound like she, the first mother just left. I think that's what they said. She just left.
Something about, and it just kind of gets down to where the dad's like, hey.
I was looking for perfect the whole time.
Yeah, and it's what is perfection. Sometimes you just don't see it, or there is a match for somebody. I don't really know what he's fucking getting at.
So what they were saying is just humans aren't perfect. You can't expect perfect.
But he looks at this fucking wine glass. He's like, this shit's perfect.
Yeah.
Check this out.
He's like, it's silicone. Look at the amazing colors it makes.
I don't care. Very awkward scene then happens where Roscoe is basically reading his like romantic fanfic to Loretta as she's imagining like kissing somebody.
Well, he's describing all the emotions of rubbing through the hair.
He's like, hey, the light dims. He walks towards her and then he reaches out.
At first, he described touching as being on a dance floor, listening to music. She said, what kind, rap or country?
He says, what's the beat? And she's like, there's only rap or rock beats. That's it.
But the music changes. And then he's like, that's what touch is.
And Loretta says, I feel nothing.
Yeah.
And then, so this is the scene where it's really hitting home. It's like, oh, he loves her. And then he says, I feel nothing.
Well,
too.
yes, because he starts touching her face, and then it starts pixeling away. That's very
then it
strange.
immediately turns around where it starts to be really forced that Roscoe starts to like Sam because he's watching some music video of the Zettabytes that we've never seen them make.
And she's at home, Sam, that is at home watching Loretta trying to learn how she dances.
And it's a little goofy where she's falling over.
Because Sam wants to be seen in the same light that Loretta is.
Yeah, it feels very like
Roscoe's eyes.
It starts to feel like the end of Grease, where Sandra Dee, I think that's Olivia Newton-John's character, kind of just is like, the whole movie she wasn't changing herself, and at the end she's like, whatever, fuck it, I'll change myself and be a bad girl for John Travolta.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like Sam should do that, or Olivia Newton-John. But yeah, it also feels weird for Roscoe to be like, I've never seen her before. Oh my gosh, Sam.
Yeah.
The record company starts to push forward with essentially like, let me tell you about the hologram initiative, where they have cracked a deal with Skygraph and his dad so that they can buy the hologram technology.
And they want to make Loretta, but also black and Asian and all these different ethnicities.
And it comes off in a way that I feel is realistic to corporations, where they're like, this is better than real people. We don't need to feed them, blah, blah, blah. We also don't need to pay them because they're not real people.
And then when we're done with them, like they use like a lot of like degrading terms like use and
own.
Yeah, like they use a lot of those kind of terms.
So Roscoe is in this meeting for some reason because he made her, but he's also a child, but he still gets stakes in, I don't know, the contract.
Apparently.
It's a mistake to include him because he's pissed.
He's pissed, but his dad's all for it until Roscoe really gets pissed.
You could say that for a lot of characters. They are one way until they're not that way.
Yes, it's about ownership and owning people, I guess. And then you see C. Dibbles or whatever, the guy that was once a musician, who was talking to Roscoe about musicians having freedom.
Everybody's got to make a choice whether to sign that contract or not.
So
but Loretta didn't have a choice, and that really resonates with Jackal Johnson.
Yes, Roscoe starts yelling at C. Dibbles, and he you see him kind of like thinking about it, like kind of like, oh shit, maybe I screwed up here. And the dad gets pissed off at the company. He's like, no, we need to look at these as like people and treat them with like respect.
His line says, "We can do that. But that doesn't mean we should. We were too busy thinking about what we could do, not what we should do."
Yeah, it was really...
So then the record company president's like, okay, I'll start a task force on hologram ethics.
But he's like, give me that bitch in the bottle.
Yeah, and then it really doesn't seem like he cares. And I would say...
You can't do that. You can't do that. And then he runs away.
I think we've seen Hatsune Miku... We didn't really see a bunch of other virtual idols pop up. So I think the idea of selling, they were like, we'll sell Asian, African American, like all these different markets. And I'm just like, I think people would feel kind of pandered to, and that wouldn't work out business-wise.
Maybe not.
That's really my biggest issue with this movie.
Okay.
Everything else, perfectly fine.
Pixel perfect, if you will.
Exactly. Roscoe actually gets escorted out by security because he's fucking getting hyped up.
Yeah.
Let me at him.
He's pissed. And the dad's pissed, and C. Dickle's pissed off, and everybody's...
Luckily, the producer guy decides to rescue Loretta, who he pulls out of the energy cell in the boardroom when nobody's around and tells her to go into his phone so she can go into cyberspace again. And it's like, I don't know if phones back then really had internet capabilities. They could have just had her go into a computer again. So that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Fortunately, this trip into cyberspace is much shorter than the other one.
Yes.
And I think she emails herself to Roscoe this time.
Later on. It's not right away, though.
You're right.
Yes,
you're right.
That
so Roscoe
because she goes to Japan.
Yeah, we don't see what she's doing.
She loves Japan.
Roscoe is still pissed. He goes to the Zettabytes at their show. They're practicing, and he sees the record producer and kind of like shoves him and says, like, what the fuck you doing here, man?
Yeah.
And he explains, hey.
Well, the girls defend him. They're like, you don't know Roscoe. And he's like, I know damn well. He sold her out. He uses like some like gnarly terms towards him. Like, I'm like, oh my God, these are dirty words.
I didn't really pick
like
up
he was
on
just
that.
describing it as like a worthless piece of shit that abuses
Like,
people.
you fucking bitch!
Yeah, like it was aggressive.
So then the record producer says, hey, your words really hit me. You know, I'm starting my own record company and she'll sign my contract.
Yes, yeah, this is how I win.
But we can't do a show without Loretta. Yes, we can.
And whose idea was that?
Sam's
idea.
So just like I said, Olivia Newton-John changing
Full
herself.
circle.
Now she wears
She's
a wig.
embracing Sam.
Sam wears a blonde wig
embracing
so
it.
she can pretend to be Loretta. Luckily,
Her mother.
they don't even really point that out. We just eventually figure out.
Her mother is playing guitar when
No, they set up
Roscoe-
that she can, but they're not like,
Yes.
who will fill in for
Yes.
Samantha? We
Yes.
just see her mom on stage playing guitar.
It was weird. So the first reason we know that it's not Loretta is...
Well, it doesn't ever look like her.
Well, she's like stumbling around and she tries to do like some kind of weird somersault. I don't know.
So yeah,
flip.
she falls at one point and then recovers by just doing like a sexy laydown pose on the floor. And be like, that's my Loretta.
Yeah.
But then she
goes for the finale.
Yeah, which obviously they don't have her pretend to do flips, but she just goes for a cartwheel. But then she cartwheels or falls off the stage.
And nobody catches her. There's like a bunch of people and they just let her hit the ground.
It's not even implied that there was people there. It's just that there was nobody there. And not that they moved out of the way for her. Just for whatever reason, there was an empty space right in front of the stage. Because that's what happens at shows all the time.
Yeah, it was always empty. So she's in a coma. She's literally in a coma.
I wrote cartwheel death.
Cartwheel coma.
So then they go to a hospital. Again, did not expect this to happen in this movie. Roscoe has his laptop and he gets an email from Loretta and downloads her. And she pops out and says, "Oh, konnichiwa, Japan was great." And then she's like, "Why are we here?
Why are we sad?" Well, yeah, she comes to life. And she's like in the hallway with him.
Yeah, and she says, "What's happening?" And she goes and sees Sam. And he says, "She was trying to be you.
Yeah.
It's all your fault."
And she's like, "Nobody can be me. I am perfect." Haha.
And then another little rule piled on because she looks at her heartbeat monitor.
And how did she get into it?
Well, first she's thinking, and then Roscoe's like, "Oh no, Loretta, you can't go into that. That's not a computer. If you go into that, you'll die."
Oh.
Not established. Just throwing out more rules. Also, if it's not a computer, how could she even believably go inside? It's like I think Wes Craven had a movie called The Shocker, which was like a slasher who went into electricity and would kill people that way. So it's just, holograms can go into anything as long as it's inside a building, just not outside.
True.
So she jumps on in to the heartbeat monitor, and it's because it's connected to her head. There's little probes, neuron things on Sam's head.
And she's into her brain, into her mind.
She goes into her mind palace.
It's fucking dark as shit. Sam is sitting...
Literally, there is no light.
Sam is sitting like...
She's
very
desaturated.
Depressed.
She's all gray.
It's weird.
She's got a guitar in front of her that's broken, and she's super sad. And then Loretta fixes it for her, the guitar. And then she's like, "Come, play me a song."
She takes Sam's hand and strums it across the strings.
"I'm here to fix you."
And then Sam starts to like break out of her coma.
Hey kids, did you expect this Disney Channel movie to go into a zone where a hologram girl basically becomes a fucking messiah figure and saves a girl from the death? It's not Lazarus rising from the grave. It's Loretta rising other people from the grave. Sam
insane.
plays some sad acoustic guitar song.
Yes.
And it starts to bring life back into her mental world where it was all
and then there's
gray
like
and
flowers
sad.
and stuff all of a sudden.
It's like if you played
it's like
Okami,
cheery.
you bringing life back into the world. And
I
there's
was telling
these...
Lucas, we just gotta like do some like shrooms and rewatch this one or something. Like it's a very trippy scene.
And then there's something about, I think maybe Sam says that you're perfect and I'm not. And Loretta says, "I might be the dream girl, but you can be the dream." And I'm like, what? Or no, she says, "You can be the dream girl. I'm just the dream." And I'm just like, can this movie end?
It's not even close. There's so much more that needs to happen.
I remember checking the time at one point. It's like 40 minutes left. And I'm like, oh, this is fine. And I think if it was probably right before she goes into cyberspace. Yeah. And then I felt like we were in some kind of cyberspace time paradox ourselves where time just got stretched out infinitely and more just happened in this movie. And it doesn't end there. Like, it still gets crazy because Sam wakes up. Her parents are at her bedside with Roscoe, and she starts talking, but it's coming off as it's Loretta.
It's Loretta's
she says,
voice.
I feel now. Everything feels
They're like,
differently.
What the fuck is happening?
And she says,
like, "Who are
there
you?
is only room for one of us. It's my turn to feel."
It was so creepy.
And if they ended with like Loretta just fully controlling Sam's body, I would have been totally okay with the direction this movie went in. Of course, it's a Disney Channel movie, so it doesn't end that way.
It came out a Jordan Peele movie.
But even then, right as that happens, a storm starts out outside, so it could be taken to be sinister.
Yes.
But of course, it's because Loretta wants to feel the rain.
Because that's been brought up like 3 other times.
Yes. So she slips out of the hospital because no security. There's security outside the window. I don't know if you picked up on that. She goes outside, starts to feel the rain.
In Africa.
And then... What?
I'm sure she says something
She's
really...
talking about, it's like, don't you love me? I'm perfect. How can you love Sam with all of her imperfections? And then Roscoe says, I love her despite her imperfections. Everything she is, everything she's not.
Which comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's pretty forced.
It's all after him watching the man doing his man things to those videos.
Yeah, so she finally steps out into the rain, lets it touch her.
And then she gets struck by lightning.
Yeah, there's some lightning energy force that comes from a cloud, goes through her.
And it like knocks, you see her body like leave. It's like it's like an out-of-body experience. Like you see all these pixels like leave the body.
So yeah, then Loretta goes up into the sky.
Yeah,
Skygraph.
She lives inside lightning bolts now and energy. She's always alive.
My notes I just say Loretta in the sky ?
Yeah, Lucy in the sky.
And the final scene, they are at another show.
She wakes up though. Yes, she's not dead.
Yes, Sam
is
does
not
come
dead.
back.
And she's freaking out like, where's Loretta? Where'd she go? What happened?
Because now Sam cares about Loretta.
Yes.
I mean, I guess she saved her life, so that's a good reason.
Sam's
maybe
like, there's only room for one of us?
So then we see Sam playing the sad acoustic song with words this time.
Yeah.
At a show with the Zettabytes providing some backing. The crowd's all mournful. We see Mr. Moxley crying.
Oh.
It's like, oh, I miss Loretta so much.
Oh my gosh.
And they finish, and
she's there. Loretta's there.
Well, one of the lyrics in the song it's very on the nose of there's no difference between the teardrops and the rain.
Oh.
Which also really hits home to another, is this a cyberpunk movie? I don't know, but Blade Runner, where the final line from the villain is like such and such, all my memories will be lost like teardrops in the rain.
Wow.
So pretty cool.
Yeah, nice little reference
and
there.
I guess it's implied because Roscoe says, oh, that was great. But so was it one of the girls providing background vocals? And the drummer's like, it wasn't me. And the bassist is like, nuh-uh. And I just said, I didn't really pick up on there being harmony vocals happening. But then we see Loretta show up as a force ghost in a spotlight.
Yeah, that was weird.
So Loretta...
It's through energy and through electricity.
She exists around us. She can always be outside
through electricity.
now. And he says, oh, looks like the Zettabytes have a guardian angel.
Sequel. Oh,
they walk out. We see the spotlight on the stage. That's the final shot of the movie. And they bring it up so we could see it in the background of the credits. And that was...
Pixel perfect. A pixel perfect mouse.
As I said, off the rails movie flying up to the stratosphere directly into the sun. Did not see any of that coming.
Yeah, 0 to 100 real quick.
It was a fun ride, an exhausting ride. And I think it's one of those things where it made it for, I think, a fun episode for us to do. But it doesn't make it for a great movie because it starts to bite off all of this stuff about like the nature of humanity, perfection, cyberspace, record company, ownership of human beings, our holograms, human beings. all of that stuff. And it doesn't really allow everything to develop on its own, when really, you had a simple enough premise that was fun. Hologram girl in a band, love triangle with a childhood friend, bring in some of that perfection stuff, maybe some of the nature of humanity. That would have been a perfectly fine movie.
I
Weird
agree.
science,
Weird
except
science.
a little less problematic and with girls.
Yes.
Well,
Girls,
I guess there was a girl in Weird Science. Maybe that's what we can look forward to. I think there's in the future down the line, making a better boyfriend or how to make a better boyfriend, which I think is closer to Weird Science, except girls create a boy.
Yeah.
So I felt, I don't know. I just feel exhausted.
A roller coaster of expectations.
Well, I don't know if I expected a lot.
A roller coaster of
Just-
unexpected expectations.
Not fun roller coaster.
No.
This was like a fucking, if I went on a theme park ride of like the Croods or something like that. Universal Studios, the Croods.
The Croods.
So, yeah, if you want to write in, tell us how you feel about
Loretta.
Roscoe's modern life.
If you watched Phil of the Future, let us know in the comment section below.
That's fine. I don't care.
I love Phil of the Future, which ended abruptly on episode, what was it?
69, man. No, yeah, it was another one that got cut off early.
No.
And I don't think there's a Phil of the Future movie.
Unfortunately not. I think like the episode was. The last episode kind of was like a 2-hour thing.
But you can write us at awholenewpod@gmail.com like this person did, the presumptuous Dustin Levac.
Oh.
Subject line of this email, next episode I'll be on. Oh, okay, Dustin. You're just calling your shots again. Maybe it'll be your next episode, or maybe we'll get you on before, or maybe you'll never be on the show again.
Oh my god.
Because that's what I said before, because all of 2021's problems,
started.
it's Dustin's fault.
Yeah.
Like this week of extremely cold weather we've had in Minnesota.
Dustin's
Negative,
fault.
real feel of -27 yesterday. It's Dustin's fault.
Yeah.
He took all the warmth from the world. Dustin saw his shadow and the world was condemned for an ice
Darkness,
age.
hell.
But Dustin writes, gonna call my shot here like I did with Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off and mark my claim that I'll join in on the episode when you guys watch Life is Rough.
Life is rough.
Just want it to be known.
Oh.
Well, Sam, he cannot be on that episode, but Life is Rough is one I'm looking forward to because that stars one Kyle Massey
Oh, let's go.
of titular Corey of the House.
Yes.
So
Smart House.
Though it's a little tricky because it's a dog-centric movie. Life is Rough is spelled
When is that?
R-U-F-F.
Like, how far away is that away?
I think it's a 2006 movie, or maybe maybe it's a later 2005 one.
So was that? Oh, so that's
So it's probably still like 8 to 10 episodes.
2 or 3
away.
episodes, or 2 or 3 seasons of That's So Raven, maybe, or a season
Yeah, I
of
think.
That's
Or
So
it could have been
Raven.
Corey in the House.
Life is
time.
rough. I thought that was like a motion theater movie or something.
Nope, it's about a dog, and I think we're kind of 50-50 for
man.
dog movies, of You Lucky Dog being pretty bad, but the other one is Hounded, which also wasn't good, but was insane in a way. If you remember, like, how vicious and
That
insane
dog.
that dog got.
Ripped apart that living
House.
room. Yeah, the whole
Everything.
house. And it was tiny.
It was tiny. It was a small dog. Talk about playing off your expectations.
Oh my.
I think that was the story I told about when cats trapped me in a bathroom at my
I
friend's
remember
house. Memories, right? Yeah. Well, no more memories for this show. That's it. Nothing.
That's a wrap, Jack.
This movie has sapped me of my energy. I need Loretta to hop into my body and give me life again.
Yikes.
But you can also give me life by going and finding us on Apple Podcasts, rating and reviewing us on there. Subscribe, of
Positivity.
course. Google Podcasts or whatever it's called now. Yeah. Spotify,
like every one of our videos on YouTube. Everyone.
Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you can know when an episode comes out. So you can immediately like it so we can fight off all of the haters.
Yes. Fight the haters.
Are mad that we found out one of our podcasts was put into a playlist like Horse Sense Full Movie.
Full movie.
Playlist.
Full movie pod. Yeah.
I did not put it in there. So if you want to be mad about that, fine. But that ain't on us. I put it in a playlist called Disney Channel Original Movies Podcast that I'm sure gets very little traffic. Find us on all of that stuff. I don't think there's any movies I am forgetting to talk about. Like in the last episode, Jacob, any movies?
Like suggestions?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know either.
Well, I can give a suggestion, some life advice to sign us out now.
Oh,
because we just came off of the big game where there was a big commercial for this. But hey, that Mountain Dew watermelon flavor, pretty fucking good.
You like that?
Yeah.
You like that?
I like that.
You like it. Well, yeah, she comes. Well, she comes. She comes.